Number 10. The GT1 TS020 road car. Most people know the GT1 from Le Mans. What they don't know is what Toyota quietly built alongside it. To race at Le Mans in 1998, the regulations required Toyota to produce a road-legal version of their race car. So they did. Mid-engine layout, a twin turbocharged 3.6-liter inline-6 pushing close to 600 horsepower, active aerodynamics, a body made almost entirely from carbon fiber. It weighed less than 1,000 kilograms. The twist, Toyota built just 2 of them, and they never sold a single one. The road car existed purely to satisfy the rulebook, then disappeared into Toyota's private collection the moment the race was over. At Le Mans, the GT1 was so fast that officials were forced to re-examine track safety standards after qualifying. Both cars retired from the race, but not before proving something terrifying: that Toyota's road car was faster than almost anything legally allowed on public roads. They didn't release it. They didn't need to. They'd already made their point. Number 9. The MR2 Turbo Group B prototype. Here's where things start to get uncomfortable. In the mid-1980s, Group B rallying was the most dangerous motorsport on the planet. Cars were producing over 500 horsepower, drivers were dying, and Toyota wanted in. They developed a prototype based on the MR2 platform, mid-engine, turbocharged, purpose-built for Group B. Engineers pushed the power output past 450 horsepower in a chassis that weighed almost nothing. The problem wasn't the power, it was the behavior. Mid-engine cars at that power level on loose rally stages with 1980s tire technology were fundamentally unpredictable. Test drivers reported the car snapping into oversteer without warning. Recovery was nearly impossible at speed. Then, in 1986, Group B was cancelled entirely, after a string of fatal accidents involving other manufacturers' cars made the category impossible to defend. Toyota's MR2 Group B project was shelved. The prototype was never raced, but the engineers who built it knew exactly what they had: a car that might have won everything or killed everyone, possibly both. Number 8. The Supra, a 80 twin-turbo upgrade, factory detuned. You think you know the Supra, you don't. The 2JZ GTE engine that went into the A80 Supra in 1993 was factory rated at 280 horsepower. That was a lie, not by accident but by agreement. Japanese manufacturers had a gentleman's agreement to cap power ratings at 280 horsepower, regardless of what the engine actually produced. Toyota's own internal documentation, later confirmed by engineers, showed the 2JZ producing significantly more than the stated figure straight from the factory. But here's what most people don't know. Toyota developed an upgraded twin-turbo configuration internally, a higher spec version intended for certain markets, that was tested, validated, and then quietly cancelled under pressure from Japanese government regulators concerned about rising road fatalities and high-speed accidents. The upgrade existed, it was ready, and it was buried, because releasing it officially would have shattered the agreement Toyota had publicly committed to. The result? Tuners spent the next 3 decades proving what Toyota already knew. The engine was never the limit, the politics were. Full exclusion. All results from the previous season's final rounds were stripped. But before the... Number 6. The FTHS hybrid sports car. In 2007, Toyota showed the world a concept, the FTHS. A rear-wheel drive hybrid sports car, 400 horsepower combined output, 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. A design that looked like nothing else on the road. Executives called it a vision, enthusiasts called it the next Supra. What nobody called it was cancelled, at least not publicly. Internal development on the FTHS moved beyond concept stage. A working drivetrain was validated. Chassis testing began. The hybrid system, a high-voltage performance configuration, was confirmed as technically viable for production. Then the 2008 financial crisis hit. Toyota's global profits collapsed. Every non-essential program was reviewed. The FTHS was classified as high cost, high risk, and low priority. It was gone within months. The irony? The technology Toyota abandoned in 2008 was eventually used by their competitors to redefine what a performance car could be. Toyota watched it happen, because they'd already proven the concept worked and walked away from it anyway. Number 5. The oval track NASCAR prototype. This one barely gets talked about, and Toyota would probably prefer it stay that way. In the early 2000s, before Toyota officially entered NASCAR with the Camry in 2007, they ran a shadow program, an internal engineering study to evaluate American oval racing. Part of that study involved building a prototype chassis to understand the unique demands of high-speed banking, drafting, and the specific aerodynamic requirements of superspeedway racing. The prototype was never intended for competition. It was a data-gathering tool, but the data it gathered was alarming, not because the car was slow, but because Toyota's engineers determined that their early generation entry could be genuinely competitive from the first season, which created a political problem. Introducing a Japanese manufacturer as an immediate front-runner in America's most culturally protected motorsports series was considered a commercial risk. They delayed their entry, they managed their debut carefully, they underplayed their early performance numbers, and when they finally arrived in NASCAR, the oval track knowledge they'd quietly accumulated for years looked an awful lot like something more than beginner's luck. Number 4. The Lexus LFA V 10-track only variant. The LFA is already a legend, a naturally aspirated V10, 552 horsepower, an exhaust note that instrument engineers couldn't measure fast enough with conventional equipment. But Toyota built something beyond it. A track-only variant of the LFA, sometimes referenced internally as the LFA Code X configuration, was developed during the LFA's production window with additional aerodynamic downforce, suspension calibration intended purely for circuit use, and powertrain modifications that pushed the output figure higher than the road car's official rating. It was tested at the Nürburgring. What stopped it from being released wasn't performance, it was liability and regulatory classification. A track-only car at that performance level required a level of customer support, infrastructure, dedicated service, tire supply, circuit access agreements that Toyota determined wasn't viable for the small number of units they could produce. Less than 5 examples are believed to exist. Their current location is not publicly confirmed. Number 3. The 1000 horsepower TS050 Road. Car study between 2016 and 2019, Toyota's TS050 dominated the World Endurance Championship. The car's hybrid powertrain, a combination of a twin-turbocharged V6 and 2 motor generator units, produced a combined output exceeding 1000 horsepower. It was the most sophisticated racing car Toyota had ever built, and somebody at some point asked the question that was probably inevitable. What if they built a road car version? The study was real. Engineers were assigned to evaluate the feasibility of a road-legal hypercar derived from TS050 technology. Weight, packaging, thermal management, crash structure, all were assessed. The conclusion wasn't that it was impossible. The conclusion was that the resulting car would occupy a market position already being contested by manufacturers with decades of hypercar experience, Ferrari, Porsche, McLaren, and that Toyota's brand positioning made the commercial risk difficult to justify. The study was closed. The TS050 was retired, the technology was dissolved into future hybrid programs, and somewhere in Toyota City, there are engineers who know exactly what that road car would have been, and exactly what it would have done to everything else on the market. Number 1. The Celica rally car that changed the rules forever. Nothing on this list compares to what Toyota's engineers built for the 1995 World Rally Championship, the system that got them banned, cost them a championship, and forced the FIA to rewrite the rulebook. The variable restrictor intake device fitted to the Celica GT4 wasn't a simple cheat. It was an engineering solution, a mechanism that technically complied with the letter of the regulations while completely undermining their intent. The boost pressure it unlocked during competition gave Toyota's cars an advantage that rivals couldn't identify through normal scrutineering because the device returned to a compliant state when the car wasn't under racing conditions. It took months of investigation before the FIA understood exactly what they were looking at. When they did, the punishment was immediate and total. A 1-year ban. Championship results stripped. Public humiliation for one of the most respected manufacturers in motorsport. But here's what the history books don't emphasize. The device worked. It worked so well that other manufacturers spent years trying to understand how Toyota's engineers had conceived it. The FIA didn't just ban Toyota. They banned the concept. They wrote new regulations specifically to ensure nothing like it could ever be built again. Toyota didn't just break the rules. They built something so advanced that the rules had to evolve around it. 10 cars, 10 stories, all of them real, all of them buried. Toyota's public image is built on caution, precision, and restraint, but underneath that image is a different company, one that built a Le Mans road car and hid it, engineered a rally weapon and watched it get banned, and developed hypercar technology and walked away from it. The most dangerous thing about Toyota isn't what they've released, it's what they decided the world wasn't ready for.